All right, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Jay coming at y'all with this reaction video. We got that boy Jimmy High Roller. It wasn't supposed to end like this. Let's check it out.
Can you say something nice about the Celtics?
Absolutely not.
They suck. The Celtics suck.
Just go home, get the ammo ready, get the bazooka, get the 50 cal ready.
It's the NBA Finals, and you know what that means. A new champion will be crowned. Legacies will be cemented. The torch.
Hold on, I just gotta go back and resign, bro. I'm sorry.
Just go.
I just gotta go. Is Jaylen Brown becoming as good as prime Kobe Bryant this postseason?
Can you say something nice about the Celtics?
Absolutely not.
They suck. The Celtics suck.
Just go home, get the ammo ready, get the bazooka, get the 50 cal ready.
It's the NBA Finals, and you know what that means. A new champion will be crowned. Legacies will be cemented. The torch passed from one team to another, and some of the most scorching hot takes you've ever laid eyes on. Today, we're gonna take a look at some of these takes. NBA Finals edition. The good, the bad, and the downright horrific.
Arguably the best offensive backcourt in the history of the NBA in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
Did you say history?
That boy said history.
Today's video is sponsored by Factors. Writers you don't is made and picking out all only meal ready to go. To get a month of order off one-sided. So far, the 2024 NBA Finals have been a bit one-sided. And with my rotten team on vacation,
Bro, that's not
NBA
even
Finals
one-sided
have
like that
been,
though, bro. Like this is one side, but this is close. And this is close too.
a bit one-sided. And with my rotten team on vacation for the last 2 months, I unfortunately have no dog in this race. Instead, I cope by watching other fans viciously duke it out while their team fights for NBA supremacy. And almost as entertaining as the finals itself are some of the takes and opinions that emerge from said duking. And here are some of the more interesting ones I came across.
Haslam, you can't give
now,
no
our
take.
first take comes from a fan that says that if the Celtics win the finals, Luka Doncic should still be considered for the finals MVP. Now, my friend, I know you're in a tough position. Losing in the finals is not an easy thing to go through. I mean, being a Blazers fan, I personally wouldn't know the feeling, but I assume it's gotta be painful. But I do know where you're coming from, because LeBron's my favorite player, and I had to watch this. The 2015 finals. If anyone tells you basketball is a 5-on-5 sport, they're lying, because I had to watch this man get jumped 5v1 versus one of the greatest teams in modern times. With Timofey Mozgov and J.R. Smith by his side, LeBron dragged this series to 6 games while averaging 36 points, 13 rebounds, and 9 assists in the series. And while watching Matthew Dellavedova nearly go into cardiac arrest trying to chase Stephen Curry around for 40 minutes, many fans asked the question, even if the Cavs lose this series, should LeBron still receive Finals MVP? He's clearly the best player on the floor. The answer was no, and it will always be no. Instead, the award went to the man who was guarding LeBron. To give some perspective on how LeBron nearly single-handedly willed the Cavs to a championship in 2015, here is a breakdown of how much he was.
Imagine the winning team busting themselves trying to beat the other team, and then the other person on the team gets Finals MVP. Like, that's messed up.
Contributing to his team in that final series. By himself, LeBron accounted for 38% of the Cavaliers' points, 56% of their assists, 28% of their rebounds, 60% of the total points generated throughout the series, and was able to win 2 games. So far in the 2024 finals, Luka single-handedly makes up for 33% of the Mavericks' points, 40% of their assists, 24% of their rebounds, and 48% of the total points generated by the team.
So nowhere near close.
It doesn't matter how well a player plays in the finals. You have to win it to even be considered for the finals MVP.
Right.
The award is for the best player on the winning team, not just the best player in the series. And if LeBron's performance in the 2015 finals didn't warrant a finals MVP despite the loss, I'm not sure if anything ever will. Now here's a take for all the Celtics fans out there. This fan says that a championship for Boston this season would make Jason Tatum better than Paul Pierce. Now, let me begin by saying Paul Pierce has become one of the most underrated stars of the past.
Yeah, he
His
has.
resume doesn't quite stack up to some of his peers of the 2000s, but Pierce was a really good player and a cornerstone to the Celtics franchise for 15 years. Some moments and opinions he's had over the last few years have kind of skewed the public's perception on him, but that doesn't change how awesome he was as a player. But with that being said, as an individual player, Jason Tatum is already better than Paul Pierce was. Tatum has a more well-rounded game. He's a much better playmaker, he's more versatile, and where Pierce really shined with his scoring and shooting ability, Tatum does even that at about the same rate and caliber. Keep in mind, Pierce did play in the slowest era in NBA history, so his numbers don't quite do him justice. Adjusted for the pace of today's NBA, his numbers would look something like this. Really similar to what we've seen from Tatum throughout his career. But overall, Tatum has already peaked higher than Pierce did. He is a far better defensive player than Pierce was, and he's more versatile on both ends of the floor. Tatum already has 10 times the MVP shares Pierce did in his 19-year career. Individually, Tatum has been good enough for long enough to say that he has a bigger impact on a game-to-game basis than Pierce did. At the moment, you can still make an argument for Pierce being the better player throughout his career, but if the Celtics win a ring this year, and especially if Jason Tatum wins a Finals MVP, then that argument no longer exists. But even without those accolades on his resume,
If they do win,
I
it's gonna
agree
be
with this
Jaylen
take.
Brown, bro.
Jason Tatum is better than Paul Pierce was, and a ring this season would cement it. Now, this next take came live on air during the Western Conference Finals, and fans are interpreting it in a few different ways. In the midst of going up 3-0 on the Timberwolves, Stan Van Gundy said that Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are arguably the best offensive backcourt in the history of the NBA.
They have two guys that are pretty electrifying as well.
Yeah, and Minnesota's top-rated defense is going to be challenged trying to slow them down. Arguably the best offensive backcourt in the history of the NBA in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
Did you say history?
Now, Luka and Kyrie have only played about 70 games together, and this is their first postseason playing together, and they haven't really accomplished much in the grand scheme of things, and about a million other reasons why this sounds crazy at first. But Stan wasn't implying anything about success or accomplishments, just simply as an offensive duo, Luka and Kyrie might be the best backcourt we've ever seen. And if we're just talking about offensive ability, then there really aren't many backcourts that stack up against this one. That short list may include 2018 Harden and Chris Paul,
Hell no.
2021 Harden and Kyrie.
Maybe.
If we consider Luka to be a guard, then surely LeBron and Kyrie in 2017
Maybe.
would be considered a backcourt duo as well.
Video got
Manu
blocked,
Ginobili
bro.
and Tony Parker were pretty damn good. This fan
video
might
got
be onto
freaking
something
blocked,
with
man.
his choice of the best backcourt of all time. And of course, the two elephants in the room, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. For the sake of this argument, if we ignore the accomplishments and the time these duos played together and just approach this from the aspect of offensive ability and production, then Luka and Kyrie are actually in the conversation for the best offensive backcourt in NBA history. Taking the best versions of each of these
Bro, that just pissed
backcourts
off my whole
throughout the
mood, bro.
years
That's
and
why I don't be
looking at some
reacting
of
to
their
these damn
numbers,
videos,
like
bro.
Points per game, total points generated
Block
per
all
game,
my damn
this statistic
videos.
factors in assists to their total offensive output, shooting efficiency, and their offensive impact through offensive estimated plus minus, then it's pretty tough to choose just one backcourt out of these five. Luka and Kyrie are the most productive, and they're just about as impactful offensively as these other backcourts. But once you factor in the shot making, scoring versatility, gravity, and all the little things that make a player special offensively that the numbers might not account for,
say
then
gravity.
you can definitely make an argument that Luka and Kyrie are the most offensively talented backcourt in NBA history. Now, as to how good they are, well then if we can't use accolades and accomplishments, and this is just an eye test kind of thing, then that's pretty subjective. Steph and Klay were good enough to win 4 titles together, but I guess you could say that as a backcourt, they weren't as good at basketball as the combination of Luka and Kyrie. Harden and Kyrie were really good at basketball, but they didn't really play together all that often. And it feels a bit wrong to not at least consider that within this discussion. Once you start to factor in what these backcourts actually did together, this entire discussion changes very quickly. But in terms of exactly what Stan Van Gundy was referring to, offensive excellence, then Luka and Kyrie are in fact arguably one of the best backcourts the game has ever seen. Our next take is one of the more unhinged takes I've seen recently.
What take is this?
Let's not sugarcoat it. Jason Tatum has underperformed a bit over the last couple weeks, and coming off the heels of a Jaylen Brown Conference Finals MVP, followed up by a lackluster start in the finals, Tatum's superstar label has been put into question. The peak of Jason Tatum propaganda? This right here. Fans claiming that Jason Tatum is an elite role player. The LeBron James of Tobias Harris's, if you will. And this take is missing so much context that I almost want to start rooting for the Celtics purely out of spite. Since the start of the conference finals, which is when this discourse really started to gain traction, Tatum has been averaging 26 points, 7 assists, and 10 rebounds a game on 52% true shooting while winning all 6 games. Those are all NBA numbers in the playoffs, and people are calling him a role player. In fact, there have only been 7 players in the history of the NBA to make it past the first round while averaging these numbers in a playoff run. Oscar Robertson, Larry Bird, LeBron, Giannis, Jokic, Luka, and Jason Tatum. A really, really good group of elite role players. Now, I will be the first to say that Tatum has drifted into unwarranted territory over the last year or two, with some fans trying to jam him into the top 5 players in the NBA discussion when he isn't. But even when Tatum has a subpar stretch of games, or doesn't fit the typical mold of high-volume, ultra-bucket-getting superstar that we like to see, he is still one of the best players on the planet. Calling him an elite role player is hyperbole, I get that. But the less brain-rot version of this argument is that Jason Tatum isn't a star in this league. And this is 100% objectively wrong. There is no metric or game or series or play that you could use to make this argument. At times, I too am not a big fan of the Celtics. This, however, does not send me into psychosis claiming one of the best players in the world is a role player. This take is abysmal.
Said elite
but let me know
role
what
player,
y'all think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're at it, share your hottest take. The hotter, the better. Hope you all enjoyed. And
Man,
as
this sucks, man. My
until
video
next
got
time.
whatchamacallit, y'all. Anyways, y'all, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one, man. Peace.